The story begins with a man named Nicky who sits in a hotel and quietly eats his meal. Everything seems normal until a young woman named Jess approaches and takes a seat beside him. She appears uncomfortable and then explains that an older man sitting in front of her keeps bothering her. To avoid further trouble, she requests Nicky to pretend to be her friend for a short time, so the man backs off.
Will you be my boyfriend? Just for a minute.
Rescuing me.
Nicky agrees to help her, but as they sit together, Nicky begins observing her in a strange way. There is something unusual about their interaction, yet they continue spending time together. What starts as a small favor slowly turns into a longer conversation, and soon they begin to feel comfortable around each other. Their connection grows quickly, leading them to spend more time together in a private room. However, the situation changes when a man forcefully enters the room. The atmosphere becomes tense as he threatens both of them with a gun. Jess reveals that this man is her husband and describes him as dangerous. She tries to create fear by implying that he has harmed people before and could do the same again. Nicky seems relaxed and tells the man that he is a cancer patient, showing no concern for his life. This reaction confuses the man, who hesitates instead of acting on his threat. Nicky's behavior shifts the control of the situation, and the tension begins to dissolve. At this point, the truth comes out. Jess and her partner have planned this entire situation as a trap. Their intention is to scare Nicky, manipulate him emotionally, and rob him.
Please, come on, shoot.
Just stop fucking around. He doesn't have cancer, you idiot.
Guys, really
You're so smart.
professional curiosity.
However, their plan fails because Nicky has already understood everything from the beginning. It turns out that Nicky is not an ordinary man. He is a highly skilled and experienced con artist who easily reads their intentions. Instead of becoming a victim, he stays one step ahead throughout the encounter. Without reacting, he quietly walks away, leaving Jess and her partner surprised and defeated. Later, as Jess leaves the hotel, Nicky approaches her again. Instead of showing anger or resentment, he offers her a drink. Jess, who is already impressed by his intelligence and composed nature, accepts the offer. They go to a bar together, where their dynamic begins to change. At the bar, Nicky introduces Jess to the mindset behind his work. He explains that success in their line of activity depends entirely on focus. He demonstrates that a person cannot effectively manage multiple tasks at once without losing control. Attention must remain sharp and directed toward a single objective. While explaining this concept, he explains his point by quietly taking Jess's belongings without her noticing.
This is a game of focus. It's to dance in the darkness. The human brain is slow, and it cannot multitask.
This moment shocks Jess as she realizes how easily she gets distracted and how precise Nicky's skills are. Instead of feeling upset, she becomes more fascinated by his abilities. This experience deepens her interest in learning from him. The next day, she meets him again and shows determination to become part of his world. Nicky initially hesitates, but eventually agrees to guide her. He introduces Jess to his team, a group of skilled individuals who work together to execute well-planned thefts. They operate in crowded areas using distraction and coordination as their main tools. Jess observes their methods closely and quickly adapts to their techniques. Her performance surprises everyone, including Nicky. She proves that she is not just clever, but also capable of learning fast and applying skills effectively. As she becomes more involved, Nicky shows her another side of their operation. He takes her to a place where all the stolen items are collected and prepared for resale. The location contains valuable and expensive goods, reflecting the scale of their activities. Jess becomes particularly interested in a beautiful necklace and tries it on, admiring its elegance. However, Nicky stops her and explains the reality of their situation. He makes it clear that despite their work, they are not wealthy enough to live luxurious lives. Their earnings are just enough to survive, and they still depend on bigger opportunities to improve their condition.
Oh, big time.
You mean the one where we make so much money we all retire? Yeah, that's a fantasy.
Understanding that they will continue working together, Nicky takes a final step to strengthen their partnership. He hands Jess a key to a room and provides her with a place to stay. Jess now grows closer to Nicky and starts insisting on spending more time with him. She wants to stay by his side and understand his world better. However, Nicky refuses her request and explains that he is busy with work. Despite his refusal, Jess does not step back. She returns to the hotel alone, but her thoughts remain occupied with Nicky. While sitting in her room, she realizes that her feelings are beginning to change, and she is slowly getting attached to him. Soon, the doorbell rings and Jess opens the door, finding Nicky standing there. Without much hesitation, they begin spending time together again, and their bond continues to grow stronger. The next day, Jess meets one of Nicky's close friends, who has worked with him for a long time. While they are talking, the situation suddenly changes. The man starts acting strangely and then collapses, screaming in pain as if suffering from a serious medical issue. His condition becomes alarming, and people gather around, worried by what is happening. However, this entire incident is carefully planned. Nicky and his team use this moment as a distraction. While everyone focuses on the man's condition, the rest of the team quietly begins executing their plan. They move through the crowd with precision, stealing valuables without raising suspicion. The chaos becomes the perfect cover for their operation. After some time, Nicky arrives at the scene with an ambulance, maintaining the illusion of an emergency. He helps his friend into the vehicle along with Jess, and they leave the place without gaining attention. Later that night, the team gathers together to celebrate their achievement. The mood is filled with excitement and satisfaction. Nicky informs everyone that they have achieved a major target and successfully collected a large sum of money. The team trusts him completely, so one of the members hands over all the money to Nicky for safekeeping. He also reminds Nicky to stay away from gambling, hinting at a possible weakness in his personality.
Look at me, man to man, no gambling, okay?
Yes, dear.
The following day, Nicky and Jess go to a stadium to watch a match. The atmosphere is lively and cheerful, but their focus soon shifts to a small game of observation. When a girl stands up and walks away from her seat, Jess predicts that several people will notice her. Nicky disagrees and gives a lower estimate. A wealthy man named Lee Wan-se is sitting nearby and joins their discussion, sharing his own prediction.
Can I get in on that?
$10, Mr.
Lee Yuan, I say
At least 8.
8.
As they observe the crowd, the result turns out to be close to Jess's estimate, and she wins the bet. However, things soon take a serious turn when Nicky begins placing bets on the match itself, influenced by Lee Yuan. At first, he loses a couple of small bets, which starts building tension. Instead of stopping, Nicky continues gambling and then loses more money. Jess becomes increasingly worried and urges him to leave, sensing danger in the situation. However, Nicky becomes stubborn and refuses to walk away. His frustration pushes him further, and he decides to place a much bigger bet. He challenges Lee Yuan to a high-stakes game, eventually moving to a casino.
100 grand.
100,000.
Without hesitation, Nicky puts the entire sum of money on the table. Jess becomes extremely anxious, knowing that this money also belongs to the team. Despite her concern, Nicky proceeds with the gamble and ends up losing everything. The loss creates a heavy atmosphere. Nicky walks away quietly, while Jess feels overwhelmed by the consequences. Lee Yuan mocks the situation, which triggers Nicky's anger.
Sorry, friend, that's what happens when you play with the big boy.
Suddenly, Nicky remembers something important and turns back, determined to recover everything. He proposes an even bigger challenge, despite having no money left. He offers a double or nothing style bet, claiming he can win by guessing something hidden in Lee Yuan's mind. The man initially refuses, but Nicky persists and brings Jess into the plan. Eventually, the man agrees to test Nicky's claim. They return to the stadium, where Lee Yuan selects a player's number. Nicky then instructs Jess to observe carefully and figure out the answer. Jess steps aside and studies the players on the field, trying to understand what Nicky expects from her. At first, she feels confused and unsure. Meanwhile, Lee Yuan offers Nicky a chance to back out, but Nicky refuses, fully committed to the risk. After observing closely, Jess suddenly notices something unusual. One of Nicky's team members is present on the field, wearing a jersey with the number 55. In that moment, everything becomes clear to her. With confidence, she identifies the chosen number as 55, completing Nicky's plan. The moment Jess reveals the number, Lee Yuan bursts into laughter, clearly impressed by the outcome. He acknowledges the result and accepts that the guess is correct. This shocking victory leaves Jess completely stunned, as Nicky has just won double of the total sum of money through such a risky move. After collecting the money, both Nicky and Jess leave the place together. Inside the car, Jess becomes overwhelmed with emotions, and her confusion quickly turns into anger as she starts questioning Nicky's actions. She cannot understand how he confidently placed such a massive bet after losing everything earlier. The situation feels too calculated, and she demands an explanation. Nicky finally reveals the truth behind the plan. He explains that Lee Yuan is an experienced gambler who believes psychological cues. Nicky had already anticipated his behavior long before the bet took place. The story then shifts back to earlier events, and it becomes clear that Nicky's team had been observing Lee Yuan for a long time. They subtly influenced his surroundings by repeatedly exposing him to the number 55 in different ways. From visual patterns to small environmental details, the number was planted into his subconscious. Everywhere the man went, he unknowingly kept noticing the same number again and again. This psychological cues becomes even stronger when he arrives at the stadium.
Sees a familiar face with the number 55 on it. You, being in the dark, was the convincer.
I'm the blind mouse? You're such an ass.
Hearing this detailed explanation, Jess feels amazed and impressed once again. She begins to understand the depth of Nikki's intelligence and the level of planning involved in his work. However, the moment does not last long. Nikki appreciates her role in the plan and hands her a share of the money. Without giving her time to react, he walks away. Jess tries to stop him, but Nikki does not turn back. His sudden departure leaves her heartbroken. She realizes that her feelings for him have grown stronger, but he chooses to leave without any explanation. Overcome with emotion, she breaks down, unable to accept his absence. The story then moves forward by 3 years, and Nikki is now involved in a new plan, targeting a wealthy man named Gary. Gary has a passion for collecting toy cars and maintains a luxurious lifestyle. To get close to him, Nikki approaches under the identity of a skilled mechanic, offering his services for car repairs. Although Gary allows him to work, his guard remains suspicious and warns others to stay cautious around Nikki. Despite this doubt, Nikki continues his role and eventually receives an invitation to a party hosted by Gary.
As a disgruntled team engineer of yours,
You're totally authentic.
starting at the kickoff party tonight.
At this party, Nikki encounters something unexpected. Jess is also present there, standing close to Gary. Their closeness suggests that they are now in a relationship. Seeing this instantly affects Nikki. He feels a strong sense of jealousy and emotional discomfort. Unable to handle the situation, he steps outside to distance himself. Jess later approaches him and explains that her relationship with Gary is built on a false identity. She makes it clear that Gary knows nothing about her past and requests Nikki to keep it that way.
We're together. Have been for a long time.
He doesn't know about my past.
Okay.
Nikki returns to the party but struggles to control his emotions. He drinks heavily, trying to cope with what he has just seen. Under the influence of alcohol and fury, Nikki loses control and ends up hitting Gary. This creates panic, and Gary's guard immediately throws him out of the party. Surprisingly, Gary chooses not to fire Nikki, believing that the incident happened due to intoxication. The next day, Nikki returns to work. While interacting with Gary's manager near the pool, he once again notices Jess and Gary together. The sight reignites his jealousy, making it difficult for him to focus. The following day, they meet privately at a different location. Jess brings up the past, questioning why Nikki left her without any explanation 3 years ago. Nikki attempts to justify his actions and tries to reconnect, but Jess refuses to listen. Her anger and broken trust prevent her from accepting him again. Determined to fix things, Nikki seeks help from a mutual friend. He sends Jess a necklace that she once admired during their earlier days. This gesture softens her slightly, and she agrees to meet him again. During their meeting, Jess understands that Nikki wants to rebuild their relationship. However, she no longer trusts him. She firmly refuses and walks away once again, leaving Nikki alone with regret.
What do you want from me?
I just want you to believe me.
I have to be getting back.
Later, when Nikki returns to his hotel, feeling defeated and emotionally drained, he finds Jess waiting outside his door, hinting that their story is not over yet. The truth becomes clear as Jess finally gives in to her feelings and comes back to Nikki. Despite everything that has happened between them, she still cares about him and cannot stay away. They return to the room and begin spending time together, rebuilding a connection that never fully disappeared. The next morning, without informing Gariga, his guard arrives at Nikki's room and knocks on the door. Nikki quickly opens it, trying to stay composed, but the guard already feels suspicious. He senses that someone else might be inside. Acting on that instinct, he steps into the room and starts checking it. However, he finds nothing as Jess manages to escape notice by slipping out to the balcony and hiding. Soon after, Nikki continues his work as planned. Gariga's manager rewards him with a large amount of money for his services. On the surface, everything appears normal, but Nikki is secretly executing a bigger plan. He transfers sensitive data from Gariga's laptop onto his own device. These files contain valuable designs, which Nikki later sells to multiple teams, including Gariga's top competitor, McEwen, for a large profit. This move allows him to earn a huge amount of money while damaging Gariga's operations. With the money secured, Nikki prepares to leave with Jess. They plan their escape carefully and start driving away in a car. However, their plan does not go smoothly. One of Gariga's men begins following them. The situation quickly turns dangerous as the man aggressively crashes his car into theirs, forcing them off the road. The impact leaves both Nikki and Jess unconscious. When they regain consciousness, they find themselves tied to chairs and see Gariga standing in front of them, fully aware of their intentions.
Really think I'm such an amateur. Someone to keep eyes on you. 20 years in this business.
Are stolen from my servers, stolen from me.
It becomes clear that he has known about Nikki's plan from the beginning. He had already assigned people to watch Nicky closely, tracking his every move and waiting for the right moment to act. Despite his preparation, Garriga still has one question. He cannot understand how Nicky managed to access his secure system and obtain his password. Nicky then explains that he used Jess as a way to get closer to Garriga's personal space. The necklace he once gave her contained a hidden chip, which allowed him to connect to Garriga's laptop when Jess entered his room. Through this method, Nicky gained access and collected the information he needed. He also admits that Jess was unaware of this detail, as he once again manipulated her feelings to complete his plan.
How did you get the information?
She didn't know anything. So I used her. The necklace had a wireless keylogger in it. I'm sorry.
This revelation amuses Garriga and his guard, who find the situation both clever and ironic. Jess explains that her relationship with Garriga is not real at all. She had also approached him with the intention of stealing, and Garriga had already discovered her motives. Jess becomes frustrated and turns her anger toward Nicky, blaming him for their situation. She points out that his constant deception has led them both into danger. However, Nicky turns the situation in his favor by attempting to explain another part of his plan. Before he can continue, the guard shoots him. Nicky collapses, badly injured but still alive. The guard then prepares to shoot Jess, but Garriga stops him. He decides not to escalate the situation further and leaves the matter in the guard's hands before walking away. Once Garriga is gone, the situation changes again. The guard approaches Nicky and reveals that the shot was not fatal. He removes the bullet and ensures that Nicky can survive. It is then revealed that the guard is actually Nicky's father, who has been working undercover all along. At that moment, Jess learns Nicky had started preparing this heist long ago, and his father had taken a position close to Garriga to gain trust and gather information. Nicky's earlier claim about using Jess to gain information from Gary's laptop was also a lie. After that, they quickly move Nicky to the hospital for treatment. Despite everything, Jess understands Nicky's intentions and forgives him. Nicky's father admits that he walked away earlier to protect him, warning that love can be dangerous in their profession, and departs with all the money. After that, Nicky and Jess approach the hospital, as Jess reveals she has stolen Garriga's expensive watch.